Well, there, folks and fans, I'm keeping up with my daily duty regardless of how I dress. Today's a big day, and my campaign for U.S. Senate as the Intendor is, if nothing, good for you to discover that you do not have to believe that you are incapable of affecting the outcome of events in Washington and through the bills and laws passed by Washington that affect us all. I intend to stand up for my class, regardless. Here I have today my Federal Election Commission package. Political committees, it says this is in response to your recent request. Statement of organization, FEC Form 1. Federal Election Commission instructions for statement of organization, committee treasurers, partnerships, Federal Election Commission published, introduction, what is a contribution, federal records offices, compliance with laws outside the FEC's jurisdiction, non-connected committees. So, here's my book of guidance in my pursuit of a seat in the U.S. Senate, where I intend to work on securing our energy needs through the use of renewable sources. I have studied with engineering and engineers, and I'm convinced that for the eastern seaboard we can get nearly all our needed supplies of electricity from the movements of all that water that weighs 8 pounds a gallon and goes in and out every day. North Carolina happens to have in this state GE turbine engine manufacturing, and I hope we can turn to them for turbines to put in the oceans. Otherwise, there are articulated pontoons that will generate electricity with the movements of a snake. Charlie Warner down in Panama was working on that, and I was glad to have had correspondence with him. I've encouraged our local representatives in North Carolina, where I live, to contact the point man for the renewable energy resources intended to come from hog waste and poultry waste. There's also in this state there are a good number of horse farms, and their waste is of a nice quality. And then there's human waste. For that, we can have a great deal of natural gas generated, and it's long term, and it provides work for the citizens of this state consistently, day in, day out. That's what the Democrats need to offer, and that's what I'm going to encourage Democrats to offer in all the states. Ways of making a living, generating the needed energy from the sun and the ocean and the rivers and I guess the wind. I don't like wind that much. But apparently it's going well. I don't like it for the turbines that don't have cowlings on them. I believe that wind turbines need to have cowlings to prevent the rupture of the bats' ears. I like the bats because they eat the bugs. And birds getting smacked by the props, open props. Hell, we put cowlings on airplane props, you know, turned them. You put cowlings around the engines. I don't know. Then we went to jet engines. I just that's one of my disagreements with the sorts of wind turbines I've seen. So I look to engineers to solve our problems. Energy comes first. Social justice. The issue of marijuana being illegal is just ridiculous. It was made illegal more at the federal level in 1953 after doctors had testified it did no harm. Nobody dies from it. I consider anybody in prison, and I'm told by an attorney friend of mine that there are at least 6 people in North Carolina prisons for dealing and growing pot. They're just political prisoners. There's no way around that. J. Edgar Hoover had an agenda and policies put in place to beat on dissidents, hippies, beatniks back then before hippies, you know. Yeah. You know, it's almost as if hedonism was made illegal. There's nothing wrong with being a hedonist, as long as you're ethical about it. I don't have a problem with that. Ethics, to me, trump morality. Morality is often unethical. You know, ethics are always moral. Okay, let's cheer up. I got things to do. I got a package of forms to read and fill out if I'm going to run. And I'm running. I intend to run. I get more and more convinced that I'm needed. I'm on my Twitter feed. These are the read feed prompts for my Intendor Radio Show. And it's a radio show because every now and then I just really don't look that good. I don't always have time to dress up in the heat. And it's more stress than you think to make a production by yourself every day. As you see, the production values have increased. I do know about key lights and fill lights and soft lights and HMIs, but I don't have the crew or the resources. I'm glad this camera works. Everything breaks, you know. My computer will break, that camera will break, and well, you just won't hear from me. Alright, this is what shows on my Twitter feed from Bernie Sanders, who I'm for. There are folks out there who say it doesn't impact me. I'm not a union guy, I'm not a teacher, I'm not a civil servant. Let me tell you how it does matter to you. Wages are going down in this country for everyone. He says everybody. When you destroy unions, there will be no standard at all, nobody left to negotiate decent jobs for the middle class. Unfortunately, you cannot believe in your employer's good intentions. One of the reasons I'm against TPP is because it leans very far to the advantage of the corporate over the nationalistic. The Insuro dollar is a nationalistic currency that will compete, if not confront the petrodollar. We're not going to have any environmental success as long as our currency is a petro-based currency. And that's what it is. It's not just made up. It has to do with a deal made with the Saudis by Nixon and Kissinger. The gift has run its course. Further, the Insuro dollar creates leverage for labor as they own themselves as represented by the insurance policies of the national insurance company. I have not had success getting this currency vetted. So I've so far tried. I'm very, very, very hopeful that eventually Yves Smith of Naked Capitalism and her crowd would consider the advantages and disadvantages of the euro dollar. Bernie Sanders, here again, now is the time to alter our government. I think it's basically the last chance. What with the way things are going, 10 years is 100 right now. Now is the time to alter our government. Now is the time to stop the movement towards oligarchy. Now is the time to create a government which represents all Americans, not just the 1%. No more excuses. We must all become involved in the political process. Well, at the minimum, vote. And be an educated voter. Down here, Guy Kawasaki has something about bulking up guide. I don't know where he's going these days. I was asked to review his book, Art of the Start 2.0, and I did partly because I wanted an introduction to Richard Branson, because for the Transcendia passport, I needed to have Virgin accept it. One of the reasons I've returned back to more concentrated interest in the U.S. Is that I'm still a U.S. citizen, and Transcendia was not getting anywhere. So there you have it. But my studies that were focused on creating another nation, I wanted to create a nation of airports, and still do. There's no reason that the United States couldn't spawn another nation as needed that lives up to the best of the myth that is America. That myth was well destroyed in 1899. Maybe we're just getting around to noticing. Governor Bill Walker expands Medicaid to 42,000 Alaskans. Well, that's good. Alaska's doing well then. Of course, they always get a check, too, for the oil that they share. That's a way a state can operate. Imagine if North Carolinians got checks for the abundant electricity they could get from ocean tide generating systems. Ethnocentrism at its finest. Our way is right, your way is wrong, instead of accepting that there are no universal and accepting others. Well, let's say I don't believe in believing anything too much. There are some things that I don't necessarily at all feel like are up for question or negotiation. You want to act ethically. I asked that a woman who's come to work for the Democratic Party make sure she's getting academic credit. You're either a volunteer, if you're going to use the appellation intern, you're supposed to get academic credit. North Carolina State, NC State, School of Arts and UNCG had intern programs that I thought were extremely well done and very professional. I had interns on a film I was key gripping here. Let's see, Iran, Israel, approximately 200. Nuclear threat, Iran. Well, Chicago's university professor of political science, Mearsheimer, in his book Tragedy of Great Power Politics, recommends that all nations get nuclear weapons because of the absence of a government of government. And he doesn't even look at the UN. He never mentions the UN it wants. UN Points for Reinvention, written by Andre Lewin, who I had a good correspondence with, and added UN TV, as I envisioned it, to his Points for Reinvention of the UN. Suggested the UN have its own army and therefore react to situations that are egregious violations of the Declaration of Human Rights. Let's see, Joy of Gay Cooking, or of Cosby Lesbians, Colonialist Brothers and the Missing Gay something. Boycott SeaWorld. And news about Pluto, news about movies. Well, I think I've done pretty well. You see, I've got my package, and you can see I'm extremely serious. And if nothing else, you need to know that you need support from people in their minds. You need that support more than you need money. The money's all intended to just prod you and propagandize you into supporting this guy or the next guy. That's what it's all about. Here, YouTube is free. What a gift. It's TV. You know, I mean, there's opportunities and ways to, if I get through to the point where I'm a recognized candidate, which is not seeming to get through, I've made calls. I guess they just don't want me. I know that some people really do look, and it doesn't matter. Democrat, Republican, look down on people of my class, working class. You say you're working class. I didn't mean to get that way. I was middle class. I thought I'd gotten that way. At least I was raised by college professors. I didn't. My mother made sure I was well educated, and I enjoyed auditing class. I think they've made it harder even. It's the knowledge, life of the mind that's important. Desire to expand it through reading and seeking out the best of whatever the noosphere has to offer. Okay, let's see. I got to end the show. I want to thank you. If you watch this, I want to thank you very much. If you got any suggestions, now my website, Transcendia.org, has been made mobile friendly. Test it. Send me. You can send me comments on YouTube if you look at the stuff.